Well, Arn, we are here. The return of the War Games, the creation of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Wrestle War 1991 took place at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Phoenix, Arizona. 6,800 fans attended the event, with 4,300 paid for a $53,000 live gate. And between 140,000 and 170,000 homes watched this event on pay-per-view, earning WCW between a $1.1 and $1.4 million gross for the event. Prior to the main event, the Freebirds defeated Doom for the World Tag Titles, and Doom splits up after the match, with Simmons turning babyface. In addition, this event featured Vader versus Stan the Lariat Hansen, a match that ended in double DQ. So let's stop there. It's now officially over. Doom here at this pay-per-view have split and are moving on. And the Freebirds are now the tag champs. So what do you think about that ending? Does that sound good? Good booking to you? Like a good?
I know how it turned out, so it worked out for everybody. The first thing I would say is, okay, what do you do with Butch now?
Yes.
That would be my first inclination. I'm assuming the Freebirds would be Hayes and Jimmy Garvin.
Jimmy Jam Garvin, you got it.
So that's a pretty safe bet to go with those guys.
Talk about a violent event. You move on from there to Vader and Stan Hansen before you get to War Games. Talk about two guys that are going to beat the ever-living shit out of each other.
Brother, are we going to see some of that?
We don't. We don't have that. We have the match for the War Games match. We don't have Hansen Vader. But, man.
Sometime, let's go back in time.
Maybe like a bonus show or something. We'll have to do that.
Yeah, let's watch that. I think. Okay. Have you seen that match?
I've seen it, but it's been a while.
Ooh, I've seen it. Yeah.
We're going to do it. We're going to do that. And because you can't get enough of Vader. And I know our research guy's a massive Vader fan, so we'll have fun with that one. But let's get to the War Games match. It's the 4-on-4 affair. And like I said, you got Sting, Pillman, and the Steiners. Again, 4 fantastic performers against Flair, Wyndham, Sid, and Larry Zbyszko, who substituted for you.
Wonder why.
Here we go. You aren't in the match, and you've been off the house shows leading up to this. If memory serves me correctly, you were out with an injury, and that's what would lead to Larry subbing for you at Wrestle War. All the way up to the pay-per-view, you were advertised for the event. Arn, do you think that the company should have advertised a replacement leading up to the event, considering you were the featured attraction of the pay-per-view?
Always you should give the opportunity to the fans to, if that's not what they want to see, if there's a big substitution, they should have the option of getting their money back, I would think.
Especially for Arn Anderson. I mean, my goodness.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, that's a
in War
big time.
Games, in War Games especially.
In War Games, all the promos that you and I have watched the last 2 weeks to try to build to this, the Edge of the Horsemen, you're delivering a lot of those lines, man. You're kind of the face of what's going on here, and to not have you a part of it, it's a pretty big deal. Yeah, especially when you're bringing in Larry Zbyszko to replace you. I mean, come on.
Oh, Arn, War Games is your cup of tea. Why me? My God.
So here we go. The night before the pay-per-view, the Horsemen attack Flying Brian, injuring his shoulder. So for those of you that are just starting to think back to this event, this is going to start warming up your memories to what happened here. Even so, Pillman jumped in the cage and started the match with Barry Windham. So again, this is a very rare War Games where Arn's not kicking it off. Windham and Pillman went back and forth the first period, with Pillman owning most of the action. Pillman even bloodied up Windham before the Horsemen took the 2-on-1 advantage after winning the coin toss. Even though JJ was not on the outside, Flair and Windham beat on Pillman's shoulder until Sting came in, balls to the wall. Sting and Flair would end the period by putting Flair and Windham in tandem figure fours. Larry would be the third man. Larry would be the third man, giving the Horsemen's team the advantage for this period. Rick Steiner evened the match up, and not to be outdone, Flair began bleeding after Steiner raked his face all over the cage. Talk about that. When you saw someone grab someone's head and just go back and forth on that cage, buddy, that never looked like it felt good. It looked like a cheese grater. I mean, talk about, I mean, you've had that happen to you.
Well, yeah, it would look like one because that's exactly what it is. You know, those cages got rough edges to them, and you got a guy that's really strong behind you, got you jammed into that cage, it'll just peel the top layer of skin right off your head. I mean, there's nothing fun about war games. One thing I should point out before we go any further, though, did you notice anything about the number of guys on each side?
It's 4 versus 4, not 5 versus 5.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. As you're going through this, you're right.
Which shortens the, for the guy that starts, it shortens the length of match for him.
Yeah.
So it's not quite a pure war games.
It's not an Arn Anderson style start the match war
No,
games.
just thought I'd point that out.
I love it. That's why we're doing this. Sid Vicious was the cleanup man for the Horsemen, but neither side really gained the clear advantage. Rick Steiner ran Larry into the cage multiple times, and Sting and Vicious paired off inside the cage. Scotty Steiner is the last man in and comes in suplexing everyone out of their boots. Sting's team takes the advantage and begins working for submissions. Sid paired off with Pillman, targeting his shoulder by ramming it into the turnbuckle and the cage. Vicious also removed the medical tape on the shoulder. After turning the tide, Sting's entire team put the Horsemen in figure fours. The Horsemen escaped the submissions, and that is where we're going to pick up the action, Arn. In our last clip of the week, we had the closing minutes of the War Games match. Are you ready for this?
You bet.
All right, here we go. From February 24th, 1991, it's Wrestle War. Clip 5 this week, the War Games match. Here we go.
What do you say?
There you see now, right? 4 inches away, right there we are. Steiner is down. Sting poked in the eye. But that's a minor injury compared to what we've seen thus far. And Vicious again having Pillman right by the hair. And now the Horseman trying to double team Pillman, who fights back. Pillman fights like a wild man.
Whoa.
He won't stop.
He's throwing him.
Ball flare.
Whoa.
Chops are scintillated. Pillman choking Flair. Winger knocks the Rick Steiner down. Nabisco hammering Sting. Here comes Scott Steiner. The people of Phoenix, Arizona, they're trying to DDT, but Barry Windham blocked it. Sid didn't.
Man, you talk about fatigue. We talked about fatigue earlier. I mean, it's set in here, brother. That's pain, blues, and agony going on.
Rick Steiner with the right hand on Barry Windham. There you see Ric Flair and Sid Vicious double teaming. Flying Brian Pillman, the kid from Cincinnati.
I'll tell you what, Big Sid's got a hold of Big Brian here, like you said. I don't know what he's going for. Into the top of the cage. Into the top of the cage.
Into the top of the cage here.
Look at this. Jimbo, look over here.
Vicious.
Sid Vicious. Oh,
Jesus. Oh, my goodness. Right on that shoulder. Right on that
He's
shoulder.
out. He's out, baby. He's out. He's out on his feet right over here. Not again. Not again, Jimbo. Not again. Not again. Not again.
Oh, good gosh.
Man.
Pillman is out.
He's out.
Pillman is
Look
out.
at Vicious. Look at the face of Sid Vicious.
Vicious likes it. Brian is unconscious. Arn Anderson's asking. You can't ask him.
He's asking.
Here
Oh,
comes Ellie
who's this
Contact.
coming? Hey, this is his little buddy in here, brother. Look, he ripped the door of the cage off. My holy
Ellie Contact
mackerel.
coming over the top. Referee Nick Patrick is in there.
What's he doing? What's he saying, Jimbo?
Pillman Pillman is unconscious. He can't defend himself.
He's calling this thing.
The referee's going to call it. The referee's going to call it.
He's calling this thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Nick Patrick has declared the match over because Flying Brian cannot continue. The winner's Ric Flair,
Whoa.
Barry
I'll
Windham,
tell you what.
Larry Zbyszko, Sid Vicious.
This is terrible. This kid with so much fight, so much heart. His big buddy, the giant 7'7", came out. Nick Patrick, the head referee, where is he left?
Where was he?
We're going to take another look at it here.
Jimbo, we need to take a look here, boy. We see the situation right here. We're getting ready to hook it up. Right here, this power bomb right here. I want you to take a close look here. My friend, right on his head, right in the back of his neck. From that moment on, this man was out. I know the heart. I know the fighting spirit, but he was out.
But Vicious was not through. The monster, 6'9", 330, did it one more time. And El Gigante says, please stop this match. My buddy can't continue. Pillman is unconscious.
He might have saved this guy's career right there.
Fans, I know it's chaos down here to say the least. I'm not sure how much time we have left on our broadcast. You stopped the match.
Yes, I did. I think it was very apparent that Brian Pillman was unconscious. He was unable to speak for himself. And I know these war games are a very, very dangerous type of match. And I'm not going to be responsible for the injury of one of these men that's going to end one of their careers. I'm not going to be responsible for that. Brian Pillman was unconscious. I did stop the match. That's my decision, and I don't regret that decision.
All right, Nick Patrick, thanks very much.
Wow. All right, let's get into this a little bit here because there's a lot of meat on the bone here, Double A. Meltzer called this match one of the best war games he had ever seen. The fans of the Wrestling Observer agreed, voting this one the match of the night. This is the only war games that the Horsemen ever won, and they did it without you, Arn, which I don't like, but that first powerbomb by Sid, I mean, that looked like it could shorten a career, man. And the second looked equally as bad because Pillman looked like he was unconscious. I mean,
you could have probably just went with the first one because it was a screw up. Brian, the cage was sagging. His feet got hung.
Yes.
So he did go on his head.
It was the roof because
it was legitimate.
Yeah.
He did go on his head. So with his legs way up here, I would have just said stay down and go with that one. I mean, you didn't need a second one. He looked unconscious from the first one.
Do you remember, was that the way, though, the match was supposed to end?
I don't know.
Or was that an audible? Okay.
I don't know, but, the Giant coming down and walking out there with Pillman in his arms, that's the most disturbing kayfabe relationship I've ever imagined, if that's what that was.
Yeah, really. I mean, but it looked like it was one of those moments.
Oh.
It was one of those moments that even, as wrestling fans were kind of like, did they call an audible back then because Pillman was literally knocked out? Was it supposed to end that way? Was it supposed to end differently? Because literally that looked very dangerous.
Well, if I know it's wrestling, and it is, and we have to take some liberties. But when they say submission or surrender, the only way you can end the match, that's what we should have went with. Somebody should have tapped out.
Yeah.
Somebody should have made a call in the ring. If Pillman, I don't remember if Pillman was knocked a little goofy. I don't remember if that was supposed to be the finish. I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't out there and wasn't sitting in on the meetings.
Sure.
But that's the one, war games meant one thing. Somebody was going to say, I quit or tap out or something, or it wasn't going to be over. And to come down and unlock the cage and all that and go, because what would have been your payoff down the road with that relationship with Pillman and the Giant? Nothing, right?
Yeah, that part of it didn't make a bit of sense. That's why I wondered if someone just sent him out there on a whim or
I don't know. Strange. We'll see going forward as this all plays out. That's the beauty of going in chronological order. In the next week or two, surely there will be some explanation.